All right. Here we go. As most of you are aware, Wagner boss, Mr. Prigozhin, his private jet has been taken out on Moscow territory. If you're late to the party and you had no idea what's going on, that's what's going on. But in this video, we're going to also be talking about, now that Mr. Prigozhin is gone, what the heck is going to happen with African countries who have aligned themselves with Mr. Prigozhin, the country of Mali specifically. Niger reached out to Wagner and said, hey, maybe we can work together, and then they took it back. So, there's a lot of issues here now that Mr. Prigozhin is gone. He was like their superstar. He was their spokesman. And please do not take this in any way, shape, or form that I am in support of Wagner. This is actually, I've been super critical of Wagner. But understand this, Wagner was a massive security element for a lot of African countries who teamed up with Wagner. And so let's go ahead and watch some clips. And at the time of making this video, literally yesterday, which means the day before Prigozhin was taken out in his private jet, Mr. Prigozhin promised peace for Africa? Which is why this whole thing is crazy. Let's watch this clip real quick.
Работаем. Температура плюс 50. Все как мы любим. ЧВК «Вагнер» проводит РПД. Делает Россию еще более великой. На всех...
Now this right here is what's interesting. Makes Russia even greater on all continents, which means there was an implication that there was some sort of Russian pride going into Africa for Wagner. That Wagner has always been the ambassador, and there was also a lot of confusion of, didn't Wagner just try to pull a mutiny on Moscow? And also understand this, there's a lot of higher-ups and elements being fired within the Russian Ministry of Defense. So I got some comments here saying, I do not believe he's dead. That's what the report is saying. And in this video, if you're just getting here, if you're alive, we are reporting on what's going to happen to a lot of these African countries who, again, have kicked out many security elements and are paying Wagner a lot of money to be there. But if Wagner's not there, what happens? Let's keep watching this video. Again, and make Africa more free. That's why this whole thing is crazy. Look, I take everything that Prigozhin said with a grain of salt, that he's going into Africa to make Africa more free, considering the way that they were operating within Mali, Africa, and other African countries.
Справедливость и счастье для африканских народов. Кошмарим ИГИЛ, Аль-Каиду и других бандосов.
This right here is also a very critical point. I can't say the names on the screen, but Mr. Prigozhin, thank you for the $2 donation. I only donate just to throw you off. You did throw me off. Understand this. The common enemy in Africa, and I say this if you join my live streams, was, of course, these militant groups. This is how Wagner was making their money. We often think of Wagner as like, yes, they are a contracting company, but they're a little bit more than that. Being an ambassadorship for Russia, being highly trained, a lot of ex-special forces. They train Russian forces. They were training the soldiers in Belarus, training African nations. Man. And so pretty much what's happening, if you kind of dig deep into the underground of the media world, a lot of these militant groups do have Twitters and Telegram, and they're really happy this happened. They are very happy this happened. Do you know why they're very happy? Because when you look at the country of Mali in particular, they almost totally depend on, not like 100%, but a lot, $200 million worth of contracting money on Wagner to protect their gold supply, to protect their borders. Understand that Mali did kick out the French. Many people actually agreed with that. Mali also kicked out the UN. Okay, these are peacekeepers. They're meant to be in villages to keep the peace, make sure there's no bandits running around your country. They're not there anymore. Wagner, are they still going to be there anymore? What's going to happen? So, of course, these militant groups are loving this because now you have the country of Niger falling apart. You have the country of Mali, who lost their biggest security element. I'm not going to hate on Burkina Faso because they claim to have not worked with Wagner, but again, the leader of Burkina Faso did call Russia their brothers. And you have other countries like Sudan, who rely on Wagner. Elements in the Congo rely on Wagner. Okay? So now you know why ECOWAS is so mad and pissed off at Niger that they need to reinstate their president, because when your country's in turmoil, I don't think anyone had this on their bingo card that Mali was going to fall apart. Because now Niger is going to be next. They already are falling apart, but these militant groups can now literally border hop from Mali to Niger to Burkina Faso, where a lot of these attacks are happening. Somebody said he's not dead. He's hiding with Elvis and Tupac. Wild, bro. I see you guys. Again, if you are here live, I do post a live stream, so you can always go back and watch it. Oofa. Again, I did talk about the UN leaving. Now, is the UN going to come back? Who knows? Because another issue is this. Maybe good news for Mali. The United States did pull out elements, including monetary elements, like not paying them certain amounts of money because they were aligned with Wagner. So there might be a silver lining out here, because again, the only thing holding everything together in these regions of Africa is the fact that they are fighting militant groups. And again, if you do go to Telegram, you can look up these militant groups. I don't recommend it, but they are actually celebrating Mr. Prigozhin passing away. I'll tell you who's not celebrating Mr. Prigozhin passing away are actually a lot of Russians. When you put things into perspective, a lot of Russians actually supported Mr. Prigozhin. A lot of them. And even during the mutiny, I'm not going to say like all the Russians loved him, but enough loved him to where he was able to freely pass wherever he wanted. There were like crowds cheering for him. And who knows if Wagner was setting that up. But nonetheless, he was sort of boasted as like this hero. President Putin always hyped him up. And now all of a sudden, I see you. Thank you for the MF Doom helmet. Now all of a sudden, you took out a key leader on your own country's territory. And so, let's just go ahead and watch the report again. Some of you guys are saying it's real, some of you are saying it's fake, but most people are saying it's real.
I have some breaking news to bring you now, coming out of Russia.
Is it gonna lag on me? This is what happens when you do things live and you live out in the country. The country. Let's see if it works. Come on, live. Somebody asked me, T-SPLY, do you think he was on there? Yes, I do think he was on there, considering Russia did report on it, like a Russian agency that actually reports on plane crashes. Thank you, Chad. And so, yeah, again, back to Africa. In my humble opinion, I see things going very bad for these particular regions of Africa unless the United States, like special forces, and the State Department steps up and says, you know what, we need to go back into these countries. We need to bring the fight to these militant groups, because we don't have a lot of time before things really start to get bad. I mean, with the country of Niger, what's it been, like 3 to 4 weeks the time I'm making this video? It's already one of the poorest countries in the world. You're in the middle of turmoil. You have a coup. This is the perfect cesspool for militant groups to go into that country and to either recruit or to try taking over portions of the country. The country of Mali, for those of you who are not aware, has massive gold deposits. Who do you think was guarding those gold deposits? I dare somebody to Google who was looking up these gold deposits. Who was taking some of those gold deposits and bringing them to Russia? Okay. So that's essentially my opinion on what's going to happen. I'm going to probably do a more comprehensive video on the entirety of the situation, but pay attention to Africa. If I had to take an educated guess, I do think the UN is going to try getting back into Mali. I do think U.S. Special Forces are going to ramp up operations. They're going to get the drones back up in the air, because right now the U.S. military in Niger, as we know, or the information that everyone's being told, is that no one's allowed to do anything. Flights are grounded. Stay where you are. So currently on these border regions, there's a reason why in Niger you had the professional military get ambushed by militant groups because they can do whatever they want. There's no support. There's no UN. There's no special forces. There's no drone assets. Yeah. Somebody said, hey, Google, who's stealing the gold? I don't think anyone's taking that gold anymore. But we'll see. One thing I also want to end this with is that Wagner is not the only contracted company working on Russia's behalf. They just so happened to be one that most people knew about. Mr. Prigozhin was somebody who was very out there. Remember, guys, this is a business, and he was a boss. That's why he was called the Wagner boss. He was trying to get contracts, trying to make sales. That's why he was in Africa, apparently really sweating. And apparently he wanted to make Africa more free. And I've been saying this for a while. I don't think Russia cares about Africa. I really don't. I really don't think they care. So that's where we're at right now. Somebody said China might be back on the ground. I will be doing a video on China very soon. China is there. They've been chilling. We'll get into that some other time. Anyway, I'm going to post this video. Make sure you guys leave a comment. I like to respond to a lot of your comments, see what you guys have to say. It's very hard to do it live. Thank you so much for being here. I love all you guys. Watch out. Pray for Africa because it's going to get pretty hectic in my opinion unless the UN, US Special Forces, and ECOWAS comes together and says, you guys, we need to stop fighting. We're fighting the common enemy who's trying to take us out from within.